Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Renvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hriyantastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhitsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhagavad Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, verses 24 and 25. Verse 24. Apyarvaga vrittaya mayasya mahitva atmabhu adaya yathamati grananti sma kritanugraha vigraham. Synonyms. Can you center the page properly? Okay. The page is not centered properly, so I can't see the whole thing, but I will read from here. Aparyava, api, still, arvak, vrittaya, beyond the mental activities. Yasya, whose, mahi, glory, tu, but, atmabhu, adaya, brahma, etc. Yatha mati, according to their different capacities. Inanti, sma, offered prayers. Krita anugraha, manifested by his grace. Vigraham, transcendental form. Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always unlimited, and his glories cannot be completely enumerated by anyone, even by a personality like Lord Brahma. It is said that Ananta, a direct incarnation of the Lord, has unlimited mouths, and with each mouth he has been trying to describe the glories of the Lord for an unlimited span of time. Yet the glories of the Lord remain unlimited, and he therefore never finishes. It is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand or to glorify the unlimited personality of Godhead. But one can offer prayers or service to the Lord according to one's particular capacity. This capacity is increased by the service spirit. Sevan Mukhehi Jivado means that the service of the Lord begins with the tongue. This refers to chanting. By chanting Hare Krishna, one begins the service of the Lord. Another function of the tongue is to taste and accept the Lord's prasad. We have to begin our service to the unlimited with the tongue and become perfect in chanting and accepting the Lord's prasad. To accept the Lord's prasad means to control the entire set of senses. The tongue is considered to be most uncontrollable sense because it hankers for so many unwholesome eatables, thereby forcing the living entity into the dungeon of material conditional life. As the living entity transmigrates from one form of life to another, he has to eat so many abominable foodstuffs that finally there is no limit. The tongue should be engaged in chanting and in eating the Lord's prasad so that the other senses will be controlled. Chanting is the medicine and prasad is the diet. With these process, one can begin his service, and as the service increases, the Lord reveals more and more to the devotee. But there is no limit to his glories, and there is no limit to engaging oneself in the service of the Lord. Text 25. Daksho grihitar an sadhanottamam yageshwaram vishwas srijam param guru sunandanandadi anugair vritam muda grinan prapayade prayata kritanjali. Synonyms: daksha, daksha, grihita, accepted, arhana, rightful, sadhanottamam, sacrificial vessel, yagya ishwaram, unto the master of all sacrifices, vishwasrijam, of all the prajapatis, param, the supreme, gurum, preceptor, sunanda, nanda, adi, anuga, by associates like Sunanda and Nanda, vritam, surrounded, muda, with great pleasure, grinam, offering respectful prayers, prapede, took shelter, prayata, having a subdued mind, with anjali, with folded hands. Translation: when Lord Vishnu accepted the oblations offered in the sacrifice, Daksha, the Prajapati, began with great pleasure to offer respectful prayers unto him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the master of all sacrifices and preceptor of all the Prajapatis, and he is served even by such personalities as Nanda and Sunanda. There is no purport to this verse. Thank you. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashri Gaurabhaktinda. So these two verses are in this chapter where we are getting towards the end of this whole episode, where it began with the Daksha conducting a sacrifice, initial sacrifice, where Lord Shiva was insulted by Daksha, and he walks away, and the sacrifice could not be performed. Then another sacrifice was performed where Daksha and the company did not invite Lord Shiva and family and had oblations for him. Sati, due to her stubbornness, even though she was forbidden to go to her parents' place to attend this yajna, nevertheless, under a bit of emotion, undertakes the journey to the yajna. But there she realizes that Lord Shiva is being insulted there by not having any oblations meant for Lord Shiva in the sacrificial arena. Thereby she quits her body in anger, and Lord Shiva's followers who were there with her, they inform this message to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, after contemplating, dashes a hair from his head onto the ground and created the Asura to go and kill Daksha. So we have seen that Daksha having been severed by Vritasura, the party of Lord Shiva, and all the Brahmanas who were conducting, they were all punished adequately. And then Lord Shiva, after the matter having been pulled down by the seniors like Lord Brahma and others, Lord Shiva was then pacified, and Lord Shiva goes to the arena, and with his share of sacrifice and everything was given this time, and Lord Shiva brings back the life of Daksha by giving him a goat's head, and the goat that was meant for sacrifice, and thereby the yajna was conducted. He gets the Daksha gets his consciousness, but also gets his good sense prevails. So he begs forgiveness from Lord Shiva, and suddenly he realizes his mistakes. All of a sudden, all of the people who were there, who were following Daksha blindly, they all realize their mistake and beg forgiveness from Lord Shiva. And here it is mentioned that the yajna then was performed, and Lord Vishnu then appears in the yajna. So we understand here that it is human beings also, or the demigod. We are all under the sway of the material modes of nature. So even though an exalted demigod like Brahma or Daksha and others, were the Bhrigu Maharaj, and they are all still under the influence of the three modes of material nature, and they sometimes utter words under the influence of those modes, which they have to regret later on, and which is no different than what we experience in this material world. We also, learn our lesson after having gone through a unpleasant situation in our life due to our own behavior sometimes, a lot of the times. And then that becomes a learning stepping stone for us so that we don't repeat that same mistake. So when we think about these things, the personality who was peaceful all throughout the insults and the things was who? Was Lord Shiva. And the followers, unfortunately, it is the followers of Lord Vishnu who were puffed up under the influence of the material nature, puffed up because of some material opulence. They were the ones who were misbehaving or conducted themselves in a wrong way, even though they are supposedly Brahmanas. They are supposed to have the good sense. Lord Shiva is none other than Lord Vishnu himself, but who is in charge of material mode of ignorance. Therefore, he had to teach them a lesson so that they will understand, even though the people who were insulting him or were the cause of his wife's death deserved to die, actually. But he still spares everybody's life there, brings back Daksha also. So we have to understand these things, that what forgiveness works. So in the general conduct of our day-to-day affair, we have to understand what is the most important things, what kind of values we have to imbibe in our life, and make them part of our character in daily day-to-day conduct. So I was reading Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 13th, I came across where Arjuna was asking about knowledge. And Krishna is talking about different qualities: humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of the sense gratification, absence of false ego. the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness, and amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So Krishna says in this chapter, these are the things, these are the qualities which we have to bring under our fold in our character and mold our character in such a way by which these 20 elements that are described here, we are able to transcend this material world. So this is what was totally displayed by Lord Shiva. However, a lesson had to be taught. So he conducted himself in a way that responded, and this is part of the karmic reaction. What Daksha and the party suffered was part of the karmic reaction. So when you are when you are conducting yourself in such a way, you are going to get a reaction also for that. And Krishna is so kind that when his devotees tend to get a little bit, his devotees tend to get a little bit puffed up, a little bit something, he immediately corrects them by giving him some reaction and make them realize that what your action was, how you conducted yourself, was not appropriate for a Vaishnava to conduct. And when we slowly, approach that destination of perfecting and trying to perfect ourselves towards these things, although there are tests like where we are tested time and again. A lot of times we fail those tests. A lot of time we become careful that we have to conduct ourselves according to the value system given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita, and conduct ourselves, as the conduct behooves a proper senior Vaishnava. That's the message that otherwise we'll see that this kind of behavior that was conducted was not worthy of being mentioned in a scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam, because it appears that everything was being done for some kind of a material benefit. But here, the lessons that are there that are more important than the sacrifice itself, because in today's time, those kind of sacrifices are not even allowed, because the yoga dharma for Kali Yuga is chanting the holy name of the Lord. So that is the best form of sacrifice, which does not involve taking away somebody's life, or making such elaborate arrangements. So the best way is for us to conduct ourselves in a Krishna conscious way by chanting the holy name of the Lord, thereby controlling our tongue and having Krishna prasadam, and that's also controlling the tongue. So it is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and thereby purifying our existence, and also having Krishna prasadam that will purify our being itself, like our character itself, whereby the tendencies to conduct anything which is not in compliance with Vaishnava etiquettes will be conducted through the agency of our character, our body, our mind, and our speech. So with that, I stop here, and wish everybody a very nice